ABC4 Utah presents Veterans Voices, honoring those who serve.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Kim Fisher. Tonight we honor veteran stories from all branches of the military. We begin 77 years ago in November 1941 when a war alert was lifted. The following month, on a Sunday morning, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor in 2 waves. More than 3,500 people were killed or wounded and 21 ships were damaged or sunk. Kathy Munino spoke with one of Hawaii's 4 remaining Pearl Harbor survivors.
Good morning, sir.
Very nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Everett Highland.
Hello.
Fist bumping.
You give fist bumps, there you go.
Quipping.
Every day above ground is a good one.
Obliging.
Can we take your picture?
Certainly.
Okay.
Take a picture with you?
Yes.
Thank you.
At Pearl Harbor's Arizona Memorial Visitor Center, volunteering his time for 23 years now 95 years old.
It gets me out of the house.
And close to his memories as an 18-year-old sailor on the Pensy, the battleship USS Pennsylvania.
I was a smart teenager. I figured if we ever go to war, the last place in the world I want to be stuck is in the radio quarters down in the middle of the ship.
And that's where he was December 7th, 1941, when peace shattered.
This is not a drill. This is not a drill. General quarters. General quarters. All hands man your battle station.
The Pensy was in dry dock across Battleship Row. Highland ran up to the battle station on the aft deck. He says 5 high-altitude bombers flew overhead.
They all released their bombs at the same time, and we took one hit.
The ship's downs and caisson in front of the Pensy destroyed. Behind, smoke billowing from the Arizona.
The other fellows with me, Harold Comstock, Clarence Ross, Joe Mahofsky, Jim Owen, Joe Pace, were killed.
Highland wounded beyond recognition.
And he came over and he bent over and he looked at me and he said, "Who are you?" And I said, "It's Highland." And all he did was back away going, very good for the morale. Evidently, I was quite a mess.
9 months of recovery and he was back on the ship, only left the Navy after the war ended.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
Highland's a retired elementary school science teacher. He moved to Hawaii in the year of the 50th anniversary of the bombing of Pearl Harbor when he met his wife, Miyoko, from Japan.
Thank you.
He used to volunteer here 5 days a week. Now it's down to 1, with no plans of going to none.
I'm as proud as these fellows are with their uniform on. They're in a great organization, and I appreciate you.
Thank you, sir, for your service.
At Pearl Harbor, I'm Kathy Munino.
The Purple Heart is an honorable distinction for military heroes injured in the line of duty. But one Florida man claims his father never got one. So he enlisted the help of investigative reporter Steve Andrews to right what he believes is a 100-year-old wrong.
It was 100 years ago, the war to end all wars. 23-year-old Ralph Karl, a member of the U.S. Army's 119th Regiment, fought the Germans in Europe in 1918 and 1919. Ralph died in 1943 when his youngest son, Edwin, was just 4 years old.
I never really got to know him, but, I had a real father.
Edwin heard stories that his father was wounded in the war, but he was not awarded a Purple Heart.
And I think I have enough evidence.
Edwin found documents dated in 1932 and 34 that show his father Ralph suffered eye trouble due to gas and a shrapnel wound over the right eye.
All I keep getting is, well, you got to do this or call that or write to them and so on and so forth and fill out this authorization.
Edwin wrote congressmen, senators, presidents asking that his father be awarded a Purple Heart.
I'm turning 80 in January. I don't have that much longer. So I want I want him to get what he deserves.
Another roadblock, a fire at the National Personnel Records Center destroyed records of many World War I veterans.
My wife and I watch WFLA every night. I enjoy Steve Cate. I like his humor, you know, he's a great guy. But when I see you're fighting for this Agent Orange and that, I said to myself, gee, now, you know, I wonder if Steve would be able to help me over this stumbling block.
Edwin was so young when his father Ralph died, he barely remembers him, but he is drawn to this fight.
It's just something that I feel that he deserves, and not knowing him, I feel it would bring some connection between me and my father.
Edwin Carl is about to turn 80. He says in the time he has left, he plans to wage a relentless campaign to win recognition for his father's service to this country. I'm Steve Andrews reporting.
Coming up, meet a Tuskegee Airman who says African Americans serving in the military faced a war on two fronts. And these never get old. A military dad surprises his kids at school. Coming up, why he was worried about their reaction. World War II was a difficult time for our nation. Our servicemen and women were overseas fighting evil, but those who were African American say they faced a war on two fronts. A Tuskegee Airman shares his experiences with reporter Stephanie Harris.
I still play golf. I'm still trying to get dates.
And at 92 years young, Dr. Harry Quinton is laughing his way through life. By his smiles and jokes, you'd never know all the struggles he's been through.
So life wasn't easy. If I could just get in and show what I could do, that I could survive.
That attitude started at 16 when Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. Still in high school in Maryland, Quinton enlisted in the Army Reserves and trained as an aviation mechanic. He ended up at Daniel Field in Augusta, Georgia. There, he saw firsthand how blacks in the military were treated differently.
They had German POWs who were just laying around, drinking soda, smoking cigarettes, having a good time. And I said, wow, they're treating German prisoners better than they are us.
Quinton eventually ended up with the famous Tuskegee Airmen, the group of African-American pilots, when he was sent to California.
We knew what we were doing was something we hadn't been given an opportunity to do before. And we also knew that everybody thought we couldn't do it.
Although he never went abroad to fight, he served his country, following the war overseas and witnessing segregation at home. He says he always asked why blacks joined the war.
Say we as a people had decided we weren't going to participate, it would have set us back another 100 years.
After leaving the service, Quinton got married, went to school for accounting, but still found it hard to get a job.
Soon they saw who I was, the whole attitude changed.
Quinton ended up working for businesses like Pan American Airlines and eventually spent 23 years as an IRS auditor for the Department of Treasury.
They gave an award from the Treasury Department for my years of service.
That hangs on his wall with all the other awards and pictures, including those of his fellow airmen.
This is when I met the president.
Quinton now spends his time speaking about his experiences.
I enjoy it, and it's rewarding. I mean, I get all these accolades and attention. It feels good.
And we feel good knowing he's sharing his story with others.
I believe that if you prepare yourself, and when the opportunity comes, you have to be ready.
I'm Stephanie Harris reporting.
Coming up, when members of the military come home, they are more likely to have suicidal thoughts. See what's being done to help them right here in Utah. When the men and women who serve our military come home, they're 22% more likely to struggle with suicidal thoughts. News 4 Utah's Sarah Martin finds out what's being done to help veterans in Utah.
I lost 6 men during the war. Here at home now I'm up to 5 of my brothers that I've lost to suicide.
Sergeant Josh Hansen was an IED hunter. It wasn't a matter of if he got hit, but when. His brain injury and post-traumatic stress was so bad he couldn't leave his home for years. But eventually, he found something that helped.
Exercise. Getting outside in nature and exercising did such a wonder for my mental health that I was like, hey, if we can get others to start following suit on this and get together and do fun activities.
He started Continue Mission in 2014 to bring other veterans outside with him.
A lot of our exercise is fun. We go paddle boarding, mountain biking, hiking, snowshoeing, skiing.
Continue Mission served 1,900 veterans and support members last year.
You start talking and understanding you're not alone. Others are going through the same things you are.
When we can get people connected with a supportive community, we see that they do really well.
Dr. Craig Bryan is a veteran, a psychologist, and the executive director of the National Center for Veteran Studies at the University of Utah.
We were there because we've seen it, we've lived it, you know, and we've lost too many of our friends, and we are dedicated to doing something about this.
His specialty is treating service members struggling with trauma and PTSD. He does it using skills and techniques that worked in Iraq.
We've been able to show that early aggressive intervention for PTSD can not only lead to full recovery from PTSD, but can also reduce suicide risk.
He says that with treatment and a supportive community, a person really can recover completely from PTSD.
Recovery and living a good life is possible, and it's just a matter of reaching out to those who actually can help you and keeping that light at the end of the tunnel, because it is there, and you can have a good life afterwards.
Both Continue Mission and the National Center for Veteran Studies serves veterans for free. To get in touch with them, visit our website at goodforutah.com. Reporting in the newsroom, I'm Sarah Martin, News 4 Utah.
Coming up, how one company is helping veterans get back on their feet, one computer at a time. You know the saying, one person's trash is another's treasure. Well, in Virginia, one group is taking that saying to another level. They're empowering veterans to get them back on their feet. Here's Amy Simpson with more.
This might look like old and unwanted computer parts, but to Tech for Troops, it looks like opportunity.
The in-need veterans and families, low-income or homeless veterans who are trying to get out of homelessness, we provide them with a free computer. And as well, we give them the training on how to use that computer.
Last year, this Virginia-based nonprofit gave 750 computers to veterans in need.
We had a homeless vet come in, first computer he's ever owned, Vietnam vet, and he'd never been online before. So our teacher instructor asked him to search himself online because he was a doo-wop singer back before Vietnam. And he saw himself online singing as a young man, which blew everybody away.
Veterans like that doo-wop singer teaching Tech for Troops. It's about more than just getting computers into the right hands.
I don't want it to go to somebody and they're going to put it in their closet or they're going to sell it or something like that. What I want it to do is go to be used because it's a tool.
With laptop in hand, sometimes vets need a crash course.
And then we teach them how to get online, what Wi-Fi is, how to create documents, save Word documents, PowerPoint, whatever it is.
In skills some take for granted.
Whether it's cybersecurity, whether it's networking, any kind of computer technology, we want to be able to bring the veterans in and help them learn that skill set.
We're separating the plastic and metal now, right?
Tech for Troops mission also hitting home for other veterans on staff.
It kind of struck my heart a bit because like at a point I was a homeless vet myself.
Melvin Whitfield is the operations manager at the Tech for Troops warehouse. He's an Army vet, now giving back, teaching a weekly computer class to homeless veterans.
It's deeper than that to me because it's more of a humanitarian type thing.
Tech for Troops wants to broaden its reach, and that starts with donations and your unwanted hardware.
We take everything except for TVs, CRT monitors, and printers at this time.
We need people to know who we are, and I think once people know who we are and what we do, then it wouldn't be a problem.
I'm Amy Simpson reporting.
In addition to refurbishing computers and laptops, Tech for Troops also recycles. Since 2014, the group tells us it's kept about 210 tons of computer materials out of landfills. Now, the kind of story we love here at News 4 Utah, an extra special homecoming. A Marine in Virginia Beach surprised his children at school. Walter Hildebrand takes us to that happy reunion.
For Marine Gunnery Sergeant Jarrell Williams, the weight of seeing his sons again hit him before he even walked through the doors of Allenton Elementary. So much so, he's overcome as to what they'll do once they get reacquainted.
I don't know yet. Spent time.
After a 7-month stretch in Kuwait, the 13-year veteran is here to surprise his sons, 2nd grader Kal-El and 1st grader Kobe. They've missed a lot of time together.
Missing the holidays, the big chunk of the holidays, the Thanksgiving, Christmas, my son's birthday. So yeah, all the holidays basically, missing out on.
This secret surprise was orchestrated by his wife Audra and the staff at Allenton Elementary. So much so, even the normally reserved lunchroom crowd had no idea. With Jarrell waiting behind the curtain, Kal-El and Kobe were called to the stage.
How long has your dad been gone for?
7 months.
7 months? That's a really long time. And I understand he's a Marine. Is he a Marine?
Yes.
And when is he coming home?
April end. I think
The end of April. Check it.
Hey buddy, you guys been good? Good? Miss you a lot. Love you, both of you.
With a big round of applause by the lunch crowd, the Williams family has a lot of catching up to do. Sergeant Williams will tell you that 7 months away will give you a lot of time to put things in perspective.
Just try and be more active in their life as best as I can, being away. Try not to take things for granted.
I'm Walter Hildebrand reporting.
Coming up, how members of the Air Force are helping World War II veterans keep the soundtrack of their youth alive and well. For America's World War II veterans, the soundtrack of their youth was the American Songbook and big bands of the 40s. Now members of the Air Force are helping to keep those memories of music alive by playing for groups of veterans. They call themselves the Airmen of Note. Washington, D.C. correspondent Bree Jackson has their story.
The music is almost miraculous. The soaring melodies and swinging rhythms raise these veterans up out of their wheelchairs onto the dance floor.
This brought me back to the days when I was dating my wife right out of high school.
Bob Jones served in World War II and the Korean War. He came to Washington, D.C. as part of an honor flight from Texas after a day of sightseeing the monuments on the National Mall.
Hopefully our music will give you a little pep in your step.
The group attended a special performance by this big band made up of active duty Air Force musicians.
The music is out of this world, and that band is out of this world, and you can't beat that combination.
For us, it's historic music. For them, it is their music. So that's what's so powerful about watching them light up and want to get out of their wheelchairs and dance.
Kevin Burns plays trumpet with the Airmen of Note. Band conductor Colonel Larry Lang calls this music ensemble a tribute to the past.
The heart of our mission is honoring our veterans, and the Airmen of Note are a centerpiece of that because those veterans love that swing music.
Lang says the Airmen of Note formed in 1950 as a way to continue the legacy of Major Glenn Miller. Glenn Miller's big band was a musical hit machine during the 30s and 40s. Miller joined up in World War II and took his big band to the troops, eventually losing his life when his plane crashed into the English Channel in 1944.
And everybody loved his music, In the Mood and Tuxedo Junction and all those other Chattanooga Choo Choo.
Now, service members use those hits to entertain crowds around the world. Band members see music as a unique way to connect people and support the troops. The Airmen of Note is one of 6 musical groups in the U.S. Air Force. The bands perform nearly 1,500 events each year, including ceremonies here at the U.S. Air Force Memorial, events at the White House, and funeral services at Arlington National Cemetery. And during this event at the Air Force Base, band members played patriotic songs, including an Armed Forces melody. It was an emotional salute to generations of service members.
It makes me realize that we mattered.
Through their voices and instruments, the Airmen of Note are sending a powerful message that veterans' service and sacrifices won't be forgotten. In Washington, Bree Jackson.
Thanks for joining us this evening for Veterans Voices. It's just a small way to honor all of the brave men and women serving our country in the military. And don't forget to thank a veteran on Sunday, November 11th, Veterans Day. Have a good night.